and thanks for tuning in. My name's Rob Tart, this is my cow Fluffy, and you're watching Pie's Perspective. Alright Fluffy, it's go time. A statue of Ronald McDonald was kidnapped from a McDonald's in Helsinki. Now the story I read said that the statue was kidnapped by a group of terrorists. I personally don't consider it kidnapping if it's an inanimate object. The kidnappers, a group calling themselves the Food Liberation Army, has claimed responsibility for the kidnapping. The group demanded that McDonald's answer questions about its corporate responsibility and food production. Now they actually posted a video on YouTube stating the questions that they wanted answered. Now I went and had a look at this video. It was very creative and possibly offensive to some people. All of the so-called terrorists were wearing balaclavas, and in the foreground was a statue of Ronald McDonald with a bag over his head. Now the group has threatened to execute Ronald McDonald if their demands aren't met. Now I'm not sure if McDonald's has responded, but I imagine their stance will be that of many countries around the world. Basically, they will refuse to deal with terrorists. The reason being, if you give in to their demands, it's going to prompt other terrorists to commit similar acts. Suddenly, Burger King goes missing, and terrorists threaten to repeatedly kick him in the Whopper. The little redhead girl from Wendy's goes missing, and terrorists threaten to drown her in a giant vat of never frozen, always fresh beef. Colonel Sanders goes missing and they threaten to deep fry him. Now this could also open the door for other types of mascot kidnappings. Little fat kids could start kidnapping mascots and holding them for ransom. Then the little pudgy terrorists would make their demands. 100 double cheeseburgers, 100 fries and drinks, all Mondo-sized of course. And let's not forget a plane to Fiji with a buffet as the in-flight meal. Now executing a fast food mascot seems a little extreme to me. There are other ways to at least embarrass a mascot. I thought the flightless pigeons might work well. Now I hope poor Ronald McDonald is spared. The psychological effect on the children of the world would be immeasurable, not to mention the mess that would result from this type of execution. I personally wouldn't want to be the one to clean up after an execution like that. I mean, there'd be special sauce everywhere. Alright, who wants ice cream? We have the thumbs upsicle, the subscribe-sicle, the 3-flavor fave-sicle, and the comment on a stick. Please help yourself to anything you like. Lawmakers in Malawi are going to debate whether to make farting in public a minor criminal offense. Now the article I read said that when Malawi was under a dictatorship, you could actually face consequences for farting in public. But 16 years ago, the country embraced multi-party politics, and people no longer felt the need to suppress their farting. So basically, people just started letting them fly whenever and wherever they felt like it. Now the law did exist at one time, and I'm actually going to give you the exact wording, but I'm going to read it because it's pretty long, and if I try to do it from memory, there's going to be an extra 8 to 10 minutes of bloopers at the end of this episode. Okay, here goes. Any person who voluntarily vitiates the atmosphere in any place so as to make it noxious to the health of persons in general dwelling, or carrying on business in the neighborhood, or passing along a public way, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. There's a mouthful right there. Now in case you're wondering, the average person produces about half a liter of fart gas per day, distributed over an average of around 14 farts. So now here are a couple problems with this law. The first is, how can you tell who farted? I mean, if there's a large crowd of people, it could be next to impossible. I could see people sticking in bunches just to make it more difficult for the cops to identify the guilty farter. Instead of bomb-sniffing dogs, the police could start using bum-sniffing dogs. So if the fart comes from a large crowd, you can just have the dog go from bum to bum until it can identify the guilty party. Now who wants to be a cop actually handing out these fines? I think the last thing a cop wants to do is stand around in a toxic cloud while writing out a ticket for flatulence. If I was a cop, I personally would take one whiff and then let them off with a warning, which I would scream over my shoulder as I was running away in the other direction. I think cops should be issued gas masks which they could put on while they're issuing a fine. Now I wonder if this law applies to fart noises. What if I fart really loud and high winds take the odor away before somebody can smell it and consequently be offended? Now I personally would walk a dog anywhere I went. That way if I expel a little gas, I can just blame it on the dog. I mean, everybody else blames it on the dog. I guess in the end it's best to avoid the bean and beef burrito if you plan to go out in public anytime soon in Malawi. Today's question, please leave a comment of the day. Think of some other problems that police could face when trying to enforce anti-farting laws. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, it's not necessarily right or wrong, it's just my perspective. Fluffy, are you sure you packed this parachute correctly? Fluffy, are you okay? Oh, thank bovine for that. A statue of Ronald McDonald was kidnapped from the group demanded that McDonald's answer questions about its corporate responsibility. Now, I'm not sure if McDonald's has responded. It'll prompt other terrorists to do what was I going to say? And let's not forget, the psychological lawmakers in Malawi I could see people. I think cops should be issued gas masks with the preventing anybody from smell of it. I guess in the end, it's best to avoid the bean and beef can face when trying to enforce anti-forcing farting fall.